Hi, this is Dominic Pace, who plays Gecko the Bounty Hunter from The Mandalorian, and you are listening to What a Piece of Junk podcast.
Hello, Space Junkies, and welcome to a very special episode of What a Piece of Junk, the Star Wars podcast here on the Fandom Podcast Network. We are, I'm sorry guys, hang on. The cockpit feels really out of sync tonight. It's very, very off weight, off balance. Oh, hey guys! Looks like Commander Kyle and Commander Kevin have joined us for a very special Season 2 of The Mandalorian wrap-up. Kyle, how's it going out there, man?
Now you joined us our last Culture Clash live record, Scott. I found at least 3 Wookiee hairs and a little bit of droid oil on the floor in the back of the ship. Kevin, can we not get good help these days?
You know, that's the least of my problems. I sent in for Beskar R Us. I wanted some type of like armor or, pauldron or something, and all I got was this Beskar cup. How is that going to help me?
Do you have any idea how expensive Beskar has become? I mean, it's expensive always, but right now it is super popular. Also, as to the Wookiee hair, there's only one person you should look at about that, and it's co-pilot Nathan Miracle over here. Nathan, have you been shedding in the back of the ship?
I shouldn't be. It's winter, but it's been pretty warm here, so probably.
Yeah, yep. I'm not going to say anything about that Minoc mark in the rear windshield either.
Okay, see,
now that's on you.
That one was not my fault. The Minoc was out of his lane. Look, we exchanged insurance information. Everything is fine.
Okay. Can we let him slide here on the Drunken Gungan? Kevin?
Oh, of course. Yes, definitely. I mean, come on. Whew. It's the Drunken Gungan,
Okay.
Yeah, look, I got the transponder fixed at least. So, Blue stopped hassling us about our signal to the New Republic, right?
Yeah. Just do me a favor. Avoid any hanging out with Din because it tends to lead to ships blowing up and we don't have enough money in the budget.
Yeah. He's
Beskar cup, really? What am I going to do with a Beskar cup?
It's going to keep your coffee nice and safe.
Kevin, it protects it when you use that dark saber stir that you have.
All right, I guess.
Well, I was going to say you could put your hand in it and you could punch through doors, I'm sure.
That's right. Actually, Kevin, if you use it,
it could probably keep blast doors from closing.
Yeah,
you can use that
those pesky elevators
as a much more traditional cup to protect a valuable thing.
Kevin, I bet it is the cup that truly keeps hot and cold things cold.
All right.
Well, anyway, everybody, welcome aboard the Drunken Gungan. As you can tell, we have a very full spaceship on this episode 43 of the Star Wars podcast here on the Fandom Podcast Network. We are proud to be your source for all kinds of deep dive discussions about The Mandalorian, the sequel trilogy, the original trilogy, the prequels, the Clone Wars, all kinds of fan favorite content out there. Basically, if it's Star Wars, we're all about it. So we encourage you to grab a cool one or a warm one out of your Beskar coffee mug and join us for some awesome discussion tonight or today or tomorrow or whenever you listen to this podcast so that we can get together with you and talk about The Mandalorian Season 2. The season that we all knew was coming, but I think went in some directions that we never expected. But
the season that keeps on giving.
It is at that. But before we do all that, we do want to remind you where y'all can find us out there on the internet. So our master feed for all of the Fandom Podcast Network is over on Podbean, and that is fpnet.podbean.com. You can find us on the Podbean app or find us wherever you get your podcasts. That could be Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Podbean, Spotify, Google Play, or now on the world famous iHeartRadio network. Over on Facebook, Derrick runs our Facebook group, which is the What a Piece of Junk, a Star Wars podcast group. I still do email between shows, so email me at whatapieceofjunkpod@gmail.com. I run our Twitter, which is at What Wars, and you can find us on Instagram under the Fandom Podcast Network. Derrick, please let folks know about those Apple Podcast reviews.
Yeah, so when you guys go ahead and download this episode that you're listening to, and whether you want to do it right now or after the end of the episode, we'd appreciate it if you leave us a review. We'll take anything. Again, we want to get that positive feedback, but any criticism that you want to say of what we can do to make this show a little bit better, we'd appreciate it. But leaving 5 stars would be preferred, because if not, we're going to upset Nathan's cousins, roommates, stepsister, whoever else in the Wookiee side of things, and we're going to start missing some limbs here. Right, Nathan?
Uh,
So yeah, I'm terrified of the concept of Wookiee stepsister. Wow.
So wait till you meet her in person.
No, hey, hi-oh.
But yeah, just head on over and leave us a review. We appreciate it. So, but now we could talk about my favorite part of the show. What Star Wars t-shirt or apparel are you wearing this week? Let's start off with our special guests. Kyle, what Star Wars shirt you have on this week?
I have an old school, nice, even it's got that kind of old school 70s gold color shirt with the shot of the Falcon and classic kind of a Star Wars shot with the Falcon escaping the Death Star with some X-Wings being chased by a bunch of TIE fighters. This had that classic Star Wars original trilogy feel to it when I saw it, so I had to pick it up.
Very cool. Definitely does that. And Kevin, what specialty Star Wars stuff do you have on today?
I've got an exclusive 2013 Star Wars Celebration Essen, Germany /Europe convention Boba Fett hoodie. And they also had a really cool Boba Fett messenger bag there. Jeremy Bullock was there at that show as well. I remember he got one of those bags. I wonder if he got it for free. Anyway, yeah, I love this thing. It's a nice zip-up hoodie with a nice metal zip too. And then underneath it, I have the exclusive, is it hard to find, 2020 Anaheim convention t-shirt with C-3PO and R2-D2. It's the one that you pre-ordered when you ordered your membership along with the other swag that you would get before the convention, and that was mailed out a few months ago. Got that on.
Very cool. Nice. So, and then you got something behind you there.
Oh yeah, I got a Darksaber here, and I also got this wonderful, I got to give some love to the signed picture with Dennis Lawson, the Wedge Man himself, a picture I took with him. I think it was the Orlando 2015 convention. No, not 2015, 16 or 17. Yeah.
Very nice. And you got that Star Wars Decipher CCG card in there too.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
All right. Nathan, what Star Wars shirt you got on this week?
I have a brand new Star Wars shirt on, at least new to me. I hope it was bought new because it was given to me as a gift for Life Day or Christmas, whichever one you want to call it. And this is a shirt with an X-Wing on it, but not just any X-Wing. This is an iconic orange X-Wing. It is Poe Dameron's own T-70 X-Wing.
Woohoo! Black one, pour one out.
That's the Starkiller Destroyer, right?
That is the Starkiller Destroyer, and in honor of the Starkiller Destroyer, I have brought with me a soda. I know Scott loves to talk about his craft sodas and whatnot. This one's not craft, but it's still good. It is a Hank's Gourmet Orange Cream Soda, so I can match it nice with the orange X-Wing.
Can never go wrong with Hank's.
Yes, they also make good grape soda too.
Oh yes, gosh, in fact, I had one of those about an hour ago.
Yeah, root beers too.
They don't sell the grape ones around here. They've got cream soda and orange soda are the two that they have here.
And sometimes you can find Hank's root beer here in Charlotte, Nathan.
Oh, good to know. Good to know.
Yeah.
Well, Scott, that just leaves you. What are you wearing today?
So I have on a seasonally appropriate Star Wars t-shirt because we're recording this on January 2nd of 2021. Woohoo! We're done with 2020. And I figured this is the last chance of this month for me to wear a Christmas themed Star Wars shirt. So it's got everyone's favorite Jedi Master, the little green one, Yoda himself. He's wearing a Christmas hat. And at the top of the shirt, it says, or rather, the caption on the shirt is, "An elf I am not," because he has the pointy ears, And so I figured that now would be the only chance I get to wear this on the show for the Christmas season. So it is Yoda explaining to you that his ears are pointy, but he is not an elf.
All right, but I got to correct you there, Scott. Me and Dave, we like Plo Koon.
Okay, fine. It is not everyone's favorite Jedi Master, but it is my favorite Jedi Master. Well, but Derrick, what T-shirt did you have on this week?
Well, I wanted to wear. I showed you guys a couple shows ago when I got the From Her Universe, the Ahsoka Tano shirt. So I want to show Kevin and Kyle.
Sweet.
Nice. With the Tano. But really what I want to do is break out the swag because, Kevin wanted to talk about his Beskar mug, and then Kyle had some R2-D2 coffee mug.
I got the Turvis Tumbler R2-D2 from my kittens for Christmas.
Gotcha. Awesome. I didn't know your cats could shop, but hey, the internet lets all kinds of things go.
I'll let me put it this way: the bill I got from Chewy.com on my credit card was appreciated.
It is just a short distance from those cat videos to online shopping.
Yeah,
touche.
So, but what I really wanted to show was my extra apparel. Now, obviously, I don't really wear shoes in the house, so I couldn't really do that. So I wanted to show them up here.
Nice,
sweet, a Star Wars Stormtrooper high top sneaker.
Yes, old school classic, and it's kind of got a gray and red, and it's got like that faded out around the Stormtrooper.
Yeah, he looks like a grizzled veteran.
Yes, and then it's got the detail all around it and stuff. So these are my kicks for eventually when I can get back out to a con at some point. Probably not in 2021, maybe the later end of this year, but I doubt. I think a lot of people like myself will probably anticipate the year 2022 is when we're actually going to be able to get back to a con of normality.
Which that is when the next celebration is. So I'm saving up all my stimulus money and any other money I can hold on to try to go to that.
Kevin, how close is your house to Anaheim?
It's about, with good traffic, it's about maybe 2 hours, 2.5, between 2.5 hours.
So
Scott, you're doing claim.
we're all going to park the Drunken Gungan in your backyard and then take it to the convention center every day. Is that the plan?
I prefer you do it a couple blocks down the street on the beach. That would be best.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine.
But we
got a nice little Scarif-looking beach there. So
no, see, if we do that, we're going to get arrested. Nope, that's them. They parked that ship right on the beach.
So, but yeah, that's definitely it. And anyways, you can support the show, guys, a couple of ways. One is head on over to TeePublic store. Obviously, everyone's pretty familiar with that. You just head on over, search for What a Piece of Junk, Star Wars podcast, or under the Fandom Podcast Network. And there you can buy some cool apparel of any kind. They have, besides t-shirts and hoodies, they've got coffee mugs and face masks and all that other cool swag. I got a couple of emails over the Christmas break. They were running some deals. So head on over there. Anything you do helps support the show, keeps that coaxium in the Drunken Gungan going. So that way we can keep bothering Kevin and Kyle and taking them with us whenever they need an Uber lift. So doing that. And you can also help support one of our local listeners, Terry Lee Roberts, who runs geekypockettees.com. They're really cool apparel that she does with kind of the basically a t-shirt with the old school quarter sleeve pocket up in the top there. And it's really got some cool designs. Obviously, she can do Star Wars. She does some Star Trek. She's got Harry Potter, all sorts of cool patterns that you can check out over there. And we appreciate Terry setting us up with some cool swag. So I'm definitely going to be wearing mine out here, as it's a bit thicker shirt. So it's definitely good for winter time.
Yeah, Kevin and Kyle, I got to get you guys some Geeky Pocket tees. I'll try to send them out to you soon.
Nice.
Pretty nice. Looking forward to that.
All right. Well, speaking of things I got to do soon and soda, I'm going to head over to the bar real quick and grab a drink and see about any Star Wars scuttlebutt. All right, I'm back. Thanks very much, guys. I'm super casual, super corporate, non-craft soda tonight. It has been a long day for me. This is my third Zoom call today, although it's only the second one that was recorded. So I got to stay cognizant and upbeat. So I got a little extra caffeine hit for just some good old Mountain Dew tonight at the bar here.
Scott, you're a sellout.
I am a sellout. I'm wearing a corporate holiday shirt and drinking Mountain Dew. Just terrible.
You think you could get some gamer fuel at least or something? You know?
Should have gotten that actually. Parked in front of a computer with a headset on. Gamer fuel is the only natural extension of that. But anyway, the bartender did give me a little bit of Star Wars news. Unfortunately, it wasn't good news. As some of you may have heard from Variety this week, Tom Kane, Star Wars voice actor from many projects, but notably the Clone Wars, where he did the voice of Yoda, unfortunately has had a stroke and is, at this moment anyway, is unable to speak. Now, we are hopeful that he might be able to, get some faculties recovered. But please send up any prayers and positive thoughts for Tom Kane out there, you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, he was also the one that did the famous Clone Wars intro sounding like a newsreel. He was that guy as well, but he did a lot of other secondary characters. And I've met him once at a Star Wars convention. I got an autograph from him, and sweet guy, just really, really good to the fans. While I was waiting in line, he was really cool with everyone. And I know his daughter went through an ordeal with cancer as well and stuff. So much, good thoughts and stuff going on with, let's give it there to Tom and his family.
Yeah, totally. Nathan, I don't know about you, but for me, Tom Kane's voice, like Kevin said, with the newscaster thing in Clone Wars, and then of course doing Yoda in some episodes, to me, Tom is heavily associated with the Clone Wars, and I know you're our big Clone Wars expert guy. Did you take it kind of hard when you heard that he might not be able to do those voices anymore?
Oh, absolutely. We went to the last celebration that we had, but I didn't get a chance to talk with him or meet him or anything. And he's one that I'd really like to meet and maybe get an autograph and a picture. So I hope that we'll be able to do that someday. But, it's when you've got a character like Yoda, who is voiced by Frank Oz, who is an absolute legend in terms of voice acting. That is a hard act to follow, and Tom Kane does a great job of it. So I'm wishing well. Hope he recovers fully.
It'll be curious to see if they were going to, in the Bad Batch series, whether or not they were going to kind of have that same Clone Wars feel as it's kind of that spin-off series, or if they were going to have something different. Because I would imagine that at least at the first episode, I can imagine, the narrator, or as Kevin talked about, kind of that newsreel anchor giving the updates. I would have imagined that would have been at least the first minute or so of the show, whether that was the direction they were doing or going, but I could definitely have seen them doing that. So hopefully Tom does recover and at some point gets to go back to voice acting.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, switching gears to a much more upbeat topic, there was a very special episode of Snipsets here on What a Piece of Junk, Snipset episode 4, where Derrick, Nathan, and myself talked at length about the upcoming Star Wars Disney Plus projects, but we wanted to give Kyle and Kevin a chance to give their thoughts about what things are coming up on Disney Plus from a galaxy far, far away. So, Kyle, take it away. I guess maybe... break it down for us about your top 3 most anticipated of those upcoming projects that were announced.
Oh, well, the first 2 are very easy. Obviously, the Ahsoka show, which we now have confirmed that for sure Jon Favreau is writing along with Dave Filoni. I'm all in on that. I love Rosario as Ahsoka. And just I'm so excited to see what they're going to do with that. The second one is one I've actually something for Star Wars I've been waiting for a very, very long time, and that is Star Wars Visions. I'm a huge anime fan, and several years ago it popped up on YouTube where some creators created like a Star Wars TIE Fighter anime that was incredibly popular, and I love the look of it. I'm looking forward to more Star Wars in different visions of different animation houses, and I'm kind of hoping maybe they pick up a series out of it as well. The third one, I'm very excited for the Patty Jenkins Rogue Squadron film. I think that's going into theaters. I don't think that's going to Disney Plus. I'm very excited about that. But the one I need more information on, because if in fact Donald Glover is returning as Lando Calrissian, I am all in on the Lando show. That is what that would probably bump up. It might even bump up to number 1. But those are probably the things I'm most excited for out of their announcements.
Now, didn't we get some kind of a inside scoop from one of the people that was on the investor call proper, that during one of the blackout segments, on the web broadcast that they did see Donald Glover is coming back to be Lando? I thought that was confirmed.
That's not confirmed. That rumor has been very strongly hinted at, but
Okay.
nobody has officially confirmed that yet. I think they're a little afraid that the Dark Troopers might come after them if they officially confirm that before Disney makes an announcement. So.
Wouldn't it be cool though to have Billy D. Williams come in for a little bit and say, I remember when, and maybe he's in a setting or something, and then they
Lando Chronicles.
Flashback, that'd be kind of cool.
The Calrissian Chronicles lends itself easily to that bookend faction or function, I should say. I would love to see that happen with Billy D sort of introing one or two or all the episodes, depending on how many they want to do. It worked pretty well back in the day when there's that one episode of the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles where Harrison Ford is able to bookend the story some. So
is that when he's got the was it the saxophone or something?
Saxophone. Yep.
Yeah.
Saxophone. Yep. Yeah. Good times. Well,
Old
Kevin,
old bearded Indy.
yes. Kevin, what are your top 3 most anticipated from those announced projects?
I'm going to go with the one that we've known about for a while first. That's the Obi-Wan Kenobi one. That right there has a lot of promise and a little more depth to it with options with what we know what's coming of other series. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see where they're going to go with that. And Ewan McGregor, obviously coming back is just phenomenal. The one that I would say that comes in a close second, it's really tough. It's between 2. So these are my top 3, and that would be Ahsoka and the Book of Boba Fett. Seeing where, of course, we've been teased with the end of the rescue. That character right there really needs to be fleshed out. And I have a feeling we will see some flashbacks of a younger Boba Fett. I think that might be an option. I hope so anyway. That's something I would love to see in addition to what Boba Fett's doing now during the time of the Mandalorian. And of course Ahsoka and something like that, whatever time frame they plan on specifically engaging. But because we got teased of Grand Admiral Thrawn, I assume that's going to be part of the story, as well as maybe being teased with whether it's Rangers of the New Republic and stuff. But those are my top 3. I did want to just say that I'm curious where the Rogue Squadron thing is going to happen and when it's going to happen in the timeline. But the one that I'm really kind of curious about, it just seems mysterious to me, and from what I've heard it sounds cool, is the Acolyte.
Yeah
I'm very intrigued by that. And then there's always that thing too, is like, which one of these do you think will surprise you the most? That's going to be the fun game to maybe talk about in the next year or two. But I'm going to go with Acolyte. I'm just going to say it.
Yeah, that one, at least from the regards to what on StarWars.com says, it does say it's staged in the High Republic era,
which makes it interesting. It's new territory that hasn't been done before, so I'm curious to see what they're going to do with that.
Well, speaking of the High Republic, the first book is officially coming out in a matter of days now. So I don't know about you guys. I'm huge into Star Wars books, obviously. So I'm champing at the bit to read that. Kyle, are you going to read the High Republic stuff?
Actually, I've got the first book pre-ordered on Audible, so I can listen to it, because I'm getting a point where work's going to get real busy real quick. So it's easier for me to listen to.
Did you just leave that?
Yeah, it feels like it, but I'm curious. I'm very curious about the High Republic. I'm not sure how it's going to go over and which directions they're going to take it in, but I am curious as we're finally dipping into a new time period in Star Wars history.
I plan on getting it on audio myself.
It's fascinating to me that the Acolyte has been officially said to be happening at the tail end of the High Republic's era, because when the High Republic was first announced a mere year ago, even though because 2020 was such an ordeal, it seems like decades ago now. But when the High Republic was first announced, it was heavily emphasized that it would be a publishing initiative only, no movies, TV shows, etc. set in that era. And yet here we are with having one that's actually going to be set in that era officially. So I'm interested to see how this all goes.
Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting. I think maybe they've realized that because of how things went with 2020, that maybe they need to give a little boost to the High Republic as well.
Well, yeah, because it's been delayed, more than once now, right? Because of the
several
pandemic?
times. We were supposed to have all this stuff back in August. So.
Yeah.
Having a visual medium to accompany something like that, I think helps with the fandom a little bit. Like when back in the EU days and we had the Shadows of the Empire, we not only had the books, we had the toys, we had the soundtrack, a bunch of stuff in the video game that helped bring that whole thing together and get, maybe someone got into the video game first and then went to the book or vice versa,
Yeah.
Well, and they have to realize that a lot of people aren't going to be buying the books or the comic books, so they've got to do something with the High Republic at some point, right? Because I'm sure as they're creating this new content, obviously maybe not in the next couple of years, but in the next 5 years, at some point, something's going to reference the High Republic era, right? So people need to understand that it's going to go back to that.
If the Acolyte has the chance to do that, if it's on the tail end of that, then they can make references to stuff that fans have learned through the books.
Well, I mean, some of us talked about the speculation about it being Darth Plagueis, so we'll see.
Yeah. Although I expect that the main character in the Acolyte will actually be a female Sith Lord of some kind. I think that was laid out in the synopsis there.
Yes, it was, and that's one of the things that made me intrigued about it because I want to see where they go with that.
Yeah. Hey, maybe we'll get some Darth Talon-esque, a Dathomir female Sith Lord. That'd be awesome. Anyway,
with Night Sisters.
Sith Lord.
Anyway, before we jump into our deep dive discussion of season 2 of The Mandalorian, let's take a short break so that Kevin can pull a little double duty here and tell us what is happening elsewhere on the Fandom Podcast Network.
Hi, this is Delilah S. Dawson and her current cold virus, and you are listening to What a Piece of Junk podcast.
Thank you for listening. We hope you're enjoying this podcast. We'd like to continue to feed your ears by inviting you to listen to our other awesome shows on the Fandom Podcast Network. It starts with our flagship show, Culture Clash, our weekly pop culture podcast. Couch Potato Theater, our podcast celebrating our favorite movies. Time Warp, the Fandom Flashback podcast discussing a whole year in movies. The End Zone, our NFL podcast. Good Evening, an Alfred Hitchcock podcast. The Union Federation, our Star Trek and Orville podcast. Hair Metal, the 1980s rock metal podcast. Type 40, our Doctor Who podcast. Lethal Mullet, a 1980s action film podcast. What a Piece of Junk, a Star Wars podcast, and our newest show, Making Treks, a Star Trek podcast, a deep dive into the final frontier with host Mark Newbold and Adam P. O'Brien. You can enjoy all of these great Fandom Podcast Network shows on our master feed at fpnet.podbean.com. The FPNet can also be found on the Podbean app. The Fandom Podcast Network is also on Apple Podcast, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, and now iHeartRadio. You can find the Fandom Podcast Network on Facebook. You can also email us at fandompodcastnetwork@gmail.com. You can also find the Fandom Podcast Network on Instagram and Twitter. Thank you for listening, and remember, respect others and enjoy your fandom.
Hi, this is Eric Walker, the original Mace, the OM in the universe. Sorry, Sam Jackson. And you're listening to What a Piece of Junk podcast.
Great. Thanks so much, Kevin. Man, you sounded just so professional. It was amazing.
There's a button on there called sexy, and you just hit that and it works.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Great. Awesome.
Yeah.
Some of us don't need that button.
Well played.
Wait, Kevin, I thought you only saved that button for when you talk to Aaron.
No. I do that with you all the time.
He deploys the button as necessary.
That's why when I hear your on that, the hair on my arms always stands on end.
That's right. It's exactly what triggers that all the time.
All right. Yeah, get your own show, guys.
Get your own ship.
You have one. Never mind.
We have a network, guys.
Yes, indeed. Yes. All right. So we are here on this episode of What a Piece of Junk to talk about season 2 of Star Wars: The Mandalorian. Guys, another masterpiece of a season from Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, and all the rest of the talented cast and crew there at probably one of the best Star Wars storytelling vehicles that we've seen over the past 10 years. And, Derrick and Nathan and I have given a little bit of our own sort of broad strokes season 2 wrap up feelings, but we want to talk about the season as a whole tonight. But we also want to defer to our special guests. So before we get into specific questions, Kyle, what were your overall feelings about season 2 of The Mandalorian?
Let me put it this way. Season 2 of The Mandalorian, and I'm just going to throw season 1 in with it because I think it all ties together. This is the greatest Star Wars thing that's happened since the original trilogy. That's how phenomenal I think this show has become. I think that especially in this season, what you really felt coming out of season 2 was that season 1 was set up. Season 1 was John and Dave kind of getting the feel for the character, figuring out exactly how they wanted this universe to be. And they got that in season 1 with the first 8 chapters. The second 8 was them. Okay, we know what we're doing. We know what we want, and we're going. We're putting the pedal to the metal, and we're going. And it was the chance for also Dave to incorporate a lot of things that he wanted from his time on Clone Wars to bring into a more of a live action setting. Without going into too many spoiler things with the gallery episode that came out, Dave has a quick thing where he talked about telling Katie Sackhoff that someday you're going to play this character live action, and she never believed him, and then sure enough. So to have all of these what I want to call absolutely historic Star Wars moments, and I can count on more than one hand the amount of historic Star Wars moments that happened in this season. This is everything I think people who have been fans of Star Wars since the original trilogy hit theaters. This is everything they've wanted, and I think this season 2 of The Mandalorian is just it answered so many questions, it filled so many holes, and I think it opened up a world of possibilities to a era of Star Wars that I think we've only dreamed of in our own heads, or that we maybe only got in book form, and now we're probably going to have it in live action form. And I am just so excited for when we look back at Star Wars history, what season 2 of The Mandalorian was basically open the gate to an era of Star Wars that might end up being called the Golden Age of Star Wars.
Yeah, that's very high praise, Kyle. And I tend to agree on several of your points. To me, this was just amazing Star Wars storytelling. Kevin, what are your broad strokes feelings about season 2 of The Mandalorian?
Kyle made some great points, and I agree with all of them. The one main point I just wanted to mention real quick was that it, to me, is also the best Star Wars that has come out since the original trilogy for so many reasons. And Kyle eloquently, pointed those out. But I think what's really important about specifically The Mandalorian and how season 2 kind of really amped up the game from season 1. Not only did it give us some wonderful character development, some much anticipated characters, it found a way to completely surprise us without any spoilers with the last episode. But the other thing that's very important about The Mandalorian that I think is going to go into its own history is when you talk about destination television. And for those of you that may not remember or know what exactly that means, that's a reference that really kind of became popular with the birth of television all the way up through when it kind of really started hitting its peak, when people started getting their own televisions in all households and rooms up through the 80s. And destination television, you can go back to the season finale of MASH, or you can go to obviously Super Bowls, or you can go to those specific moments, the big, was it the big shootout on Dynasty or whatever it was, or, on Moonlighting when they finally hooked up, even though it went downhill from there. It was still like a big, it was destination television, the season finale of like Seinfeld. People went to watch this stuff, the Super Bowl specials with Friends and all these things. It's destination television. And then it also it really became a thing with The Walking Dead and of course the HBO shows. Why, you know, of course we can go way back to The Sopranos. Where were you on a Sunday night? Everyone knew where you were on a Sunday night. You know, they owned Sunday night. NBC owned Thursday night. You know, we had the Friday nights too. It was, you know, Miami Vice owned Friday night. And this is something that's really important because this show really taught people how to stay away from spoilers, and also maybe and definitely in my case, change your sleeping habits. So you made sure that didn't happen. I don't do that for every show. If something slips out or something like that, but for The Mandalorian, I had my routine. I woke up at 2 a.m. before I had to go to work at 3 or 4 in the morning, and I made sure that I watched it. But it really let us know that destination television week to week was the way to possibly go instead of always dumping it all out like some Netflix shows do now, because it keeps the importance of the show and the social media around it and the importance and the discussion about it going on for a much longer time than everyone. Like right now, we're all watching Cobra Kai, but it's all dumped one season. It's fun. It's great. But we're going to talk a lot less about it over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. Go, Kyle.
I just wanted to expand on what Kevin said too. Is it's interesting because a lot of people thought destination television was going to be over after Game of Thrones because of how streaming was and everything was coming out in big everything released at once and everything like that. And I think it's a combination of COVID may have taught people we don't need to dump everything all at once because we need to have stuff expanded out. And I think that in the Mandalorian's case, because it's been so phenomenal, it's become that destination television like Game of Thrones, where people are talking about it as soon as they possibly can, but trying to avoid spoilers, or at least for the most part. And I think it's kind of taught the creators in Hollywood a lesson that, wait a minute, just doing a big super dump of a show is not the way to go. And I think it's very important because you're even seeing it now with other streaming services. Amazon puts out like the first 3 episodes of The Boys, and then it's weekly after that. So you're seeing everybody adjust to that. And I think it's one of the things that was a big question as we transition more and more into a streaming world was how they were going to handle that. And I think they're kind of starting to get a handle on it now. And I think they've realized that the big information dump is not the way to go.
And I'm very relieved to see Disney Plus do this on a week-to-week basis, like Kevin said, because one of the things that, as you guys know, I love The Mandalorian, but to me, Star Wars is still a cinema medium, right? I want it to be an event of a movie, a film release, right? Now, obviously, I'm on the downward slope when it comes to that because Disney and Lucasfilm, and rightfully so, are focusing on the series and the streams and that sort of thing, because that's the way the world is these days. And that's great. That's fine. I'm not upset with it. But I was worried that it would mean Star Wars as a property would become less of a pop culture force as it would have been back when each feature film release was, a big event. But by making it destination television, like Kevin was talking about, Star Wars still has a grip on the week-to-week pop culture impact like it once did. And I'm happy to see that.
Two things I want to mention regarding it. I know Star Trek has done that too. They've gone to the week-to-week thing, and it gives us something to talk about. And of course, the week-to-week stuff is great for podcasters, obviously.
Yeah, totally.
But I'm also wondering too if there's a production advantage to it as well. If there's a production advantage to it too, like, in case you need to like touch something up or change something or do something, you can get in there and do it before that episode is planning on releasing 4 weeks down there, or in some cases, 8 to 12 later on.
Artists who are procrastinators, Kevin, I don't know what you're talking about. So anyway, thanks for the broad strokes reviews of season 2, guys. Nathan or Derrick, did you want to add anything, your own view from 30,000 feet when it comes to the season as a whole? And then we'll move into specific questions. And I think Derrick says, I've said it all.
No, I was just going to let Nathan go if he wanted to go first.
Oh, that's funny. I was going to let you go if you wanted to go first.
Oh, such gentlemen. You guys don't
fit
in
so
with
polite around here, Kevin.
You don't fit in with this.
I nominate Nathan. Go.
All right. So I really enjoyed this season. It was a great season. We got to meet a lot of characters that we already knew, but we got to meet them in new ways. And that was probably my biggest takeaway from this season overall. And other than that, I think Kevin really covered it in a great way. I do think it's great that they put it out on a weekly basis. I hadn't really thought about that, but that kept
it's
it
fun
in
to
my mind.
rewatch them during that week waiting up to the next one, especially when stuff starts coming up, when spoilers are starting to release more specifically on that Monday, because that's when Disney thinks it's okay to do it. It gives you the weekend to watch it. Then stuff starts coming up and you go, I didn't notice that. I got to go back and watch it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
But it also gives us time to speculate and to process and say, okay, so this
Marinate.
is what really happened in this episode. What could that mean for the next episode? And it gives us a chance to get our hopes up. So I thought it was great. We'll talk more about some specifics, but Derrick, do you have any other high level thoughts?
Two things. First, I'm a little disappointed in Kevin and Kyle that they said that this is the best thing since the original trilogy, because my heart burns every time when somebody says that and forgets about Rogue One. Because to me, that definitely, I think Rogue One made the feels just like it. And obviously we'll talk about the end of the end of the season.
If one person would have survived from that Rogue One ship,
I know that gets you.
Might have said differently.
But everyone was talking about chapter 16, but what about that last 2-minute with Vader in the hallway scene? To me, that is still the pinnacle, because that was what we wanted this whole entire time.
Think about it, we almost didn't get that either.
Yes, I know.
Two sides of the same coin, guys. Two sides of the same
coin. That's why I love it too, right?
Let me throw in something there, because I love Rogue One. Of the films, it's probably my favorite of the Disney era of Star Wars films. I think Rogue One gets revisited once the Andor series comes out, and I think Rogue One gets put in a whole new perspective when the Andor series comes out. But I mean, for me, what Mandalorian, there's things I love about Rogue One, but Mandalorian also brings me back to my childhood with Star Wars more than Rogue One ever did.
Well, and I think that's my second point, that to what you're exactly saying, the thing that I've been saying forever, because it's the opposite of what Scott wants, is that I think Star Wars is best when it's told in a series. Because this is where we get not just what Nathan mentioned about, whether it's a 30-minute episode or it's an hour episode, we get that time to digest and think about, we get character development. Something that, again, I think lacked in 7, 8, 9 there was just so much going on, so many characters they tried to hit, and we just didn't get the time to enjoy whether or not we were going to like Poe, Rey, and Finn and all them. We just had to accept them, and that was it. So I think allowing the series is phenomenal, and that's what Mandalorian is showing, that Star Wars could be very successful as a series.
I just want to add in too, real quick, as Robert Rodriguez has proven, the other thing that makes the Mandalorian so great is these are the adventures we would have told with our own action figures.
Oh yeah, when he did the animatic with his action figures and his kids in the backyard by his pool, I was like, I'm in love with this guy. I have a bromance with Robert Rodriguez, really intense right now.
And not only that, both him and Eli Roth have been going to we're going to be looking shredded director school. Have you noticed that?
Yeah,
they are fit.
Yeah. It looks like Rodriguez is all. Yeah, I made that mariachi movie based on my own life. Good times. Okay, all right.
And he can play the guitar to play with baby.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. He is the mariachi. Anyway, so let's get into the specific questions. You guys know I'm a journalist by day, so I'm eager to ask you all specific questions. Nathan, I'm going to tee off with you. What is your favorite chapter of The Mandalorian Season 2, and why did you like that one the best?
Well, I'm an accountant by day, so I have to go with the one that featured an accountant, and that is The Siege. Yes, the Blue Mithril.
Yes.
Oh, one of my favorite characters to come out of The Mandalorian, other than Grogu, obviously. But it wasn't just Mithril there. It was the whole episode. I loved... possibly one of my favorite moments. There's no handrails here.
There's no OSHA.
All the way to A New Hope.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole episode reminded me of A New Hope with our cast of characters running from the Empire through these semi-futuristic hallways, getting blasted by stormtroopers and blasting the stormtroopers right back. So overall, I think that's probably my favorite episode. There may be moments in other episodes Obviously, seeing Ahsoka in live action, seeing Bo-Katan in live action, seeing Boba Fett come back, those were all great moments. But as far as a complete episode, it has to be The Siege. And of course, that's also the episode that gave us Gene's guy. I know they've gone back and edited him out, so pull one out for Gene's guy. But,
I saw a really great meme where someone had taken a still store of Luke Skywalker entering the scene with his green lightsaber, and his cloak is open to reveal Gene's guy. Good times. All right, Derrick, what was your favorite chapter of The Mandalorian season 2?
Chapter 15, The Believer, still my favorite.
Yep, and you said several reasons why on that particular episode, but sum up real quick. Why is that one your favorite?
Again, it's just that where you get to see the Mandalorian back to what I really wanted it to be. Again, prior to really season 1, where you have the prisoner. This is what I enjoy the most about The Mandalorian, when he's doing heists or when he's going in to break into things. I mean, The Siege is somewhat that too, which really good. I just didn't care too much for it in regards to character development. And this side, you get to see a little bit more of the Empire. You get to see what they're like in regards to, when they're getting blasted down by local natives, terrorists, or people trying to, do whatever they're doing, and the few of them make it back to the base, and they're all being hailed as heroes and stuff in the Empire. So and this is also the episode where you get a really good character development with Mayfield, Bill Burr's character, but also the Mandalorian, where Din has to take off his helmet in front of others. Really, this is the first time you see it, and besides IG-11, he has never revealed it outside to anyone else. So this is really the first time where he has to make that decision in order to save Grogu.
Yeah, absolutely. Kyle, what was your favorite chapter of season 2?
Now, this is hard because I got to put a caveat in here, and you guys can roll your eyes.
No. Answer the question.
Listen, I asked questions.
I'm going through an internal struggle right now.
Yeah.
While you're talking, you need to do it.
Look, you see,
because I think episode 16, The Rescue, is just so above and beyond anything. But if I'm going to go for the one that I had the most fun with, it's episode 1 of The Marshal, and only because I am a huge Timothy Oliphant fan. As Kevin Smith wrote in one of his books, I could sit and listen to Timothy Oliphant read the phone book and be entertained. And I mean, The Jedi was a phenomenal episode with obviously live action Ahsoka, and that's a whole other thing. And like I said, to me, 16, The Rescue, is on a whole otherworldly platform. But as far as just watching an episode of The Mandalorian, the most fun, it's The Marshal. Timothy Oliphant's in it. You've got Mando with some great moments in this. The effects on the crate dragon are phenomenal. We kind of get to see a little bit more of a different aspect of Sand People. Had so much fun with this episode, and poor Banthas. That's all I gotta say.
Excellent. All right, Kevin, favorite chapter and why?
It's easy to say The Rescue. It made me cry. It was so emotional, and it gave me a Luke that I wanted to see for so very long. And there's just so much good about that with the dark saber and in that little side story. You could go with the Jedi too. I almost did seeing Ahsoka come to life as a real character, other than being animated, was just fantastic.
See these plaques behind me that say Press Association Award? It's because I asked these hard questions.
I'm going to put on a cap to let you know what my favorite episode is. And my favorite episode is The Tragedy. Because as much as we were teased with, rumors and stuff like that, and of course we were surprised with Luke and coming in at the end of the rescue, finally getting something in canon of the return of one of the most iconic characters that really didn't get a chance to show how badass that he was. And Robert Rodriguez directing the episode of The Tragedy and the Return of Boba Fett, and really turning into what he said, 3 sheets of script into like 9 to 15 minutes of fighting. and seeing him use a gaffy stick like we've never seen before, and using all kinds of weapons, it was just, for me, being a Mandalorian. I mean, come on, what's my one of my costumes? It's a Mandalorian slash Star Wars Raider Mandalorian outfit, and I've had that for years before the Mandalorian ever came out. And because I love Boba Fett, I love the Mandalorian look and the legend. And so I wear my Mandalorian hat to give praise to the tragedy and bring in Boba Fett back. And specifically Tamora Morrison. Oh my God. He was able to play Jango Fett, and now years past, he can play his son, which is great. Boba Fett.
Yep.
And man, he is about to be the hardest working man in Star Wars. Because you've got Boba Fett in the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
You have Commander Cody, rumored for the Obi-Wan series, and if Rex is in the Ahsoka series, he'll be playing 3 different.
And also too, them kind of clarifying the lineage with his father, and his father taking place in the Mandalorian Wars and fighting alongside and earning the armor, and then the armor being passed down, just made all of us Fett fans just.
Well, and I one thing I loved about it, they talked about it in the gallery there, was that Tamora Morrison got to help a little bit in regards to creating the style of which Boba Fett fights. He got to do a bit of his Pacific Islander there with the Haka, and doing that in the style of the action. And I really appreciate Robert.
And seeing him put on that cowboy hat and doing the pose on that rock. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
But just one thing I want to mention real quick, the importance of what they did for Boba Fett and how important it was to Robert Rodriguez to direct and develop that character and give him the due justice that we have been waiting for years. Thank you, Robert Rodriguez. Thank you.
And Robert ain't done yet, but I got to flip the tables now, Scott. It's your turn. What is your favorite episode of The Mandalorian?
I mean, Kevin kind of stole some of my thunder, but I'm not upset at all. I'm also in the camp, chapter 14, the tragedy. I'm
curious to know why.
Okay, so all the reasons you just said. First of all, but in it, adding on to those, definitive proof that Boba Fett survived the Sarlacc, because a lot of us have felt that was true for a long, long time. It was true in the old EU before that canon got wiped away. So I'm glad to see that back as a definitive proof, but also for me as a Star Wars The Old Republic fan, to see classic Jedi architecture has survived on the planet of Tython for all these millennia from the last time that we really checked in on Tython. Now, I know that the galactical geography of where Tython is has changed as far as the new canon goes, but that's okay, because galactic drift can easily be a thing in Star Wars. Yes,
May I ask you a question, Scott, since you and I both share this as our favorite episode? So I want to direct this question to you and get your best guess, or whatever it is that you want to call it. So remember in the first episode, Kyle's favorite episode, The Marshal, there was reference to the Sarlacc pit, and how I think it was the Marshal saying, "Oh, the Krayt Dragon lives in a Sarlacc pit," and then it was, I think Mandalorian said, a Sarlacc pit is never, or it's always in there, or it's not empty.
There's no such thing.
But then he said, what if the Sarlacc pit, or what if the Sarlacc is dead? Mm-hmm. So are we led to believe? Do you think that Krayt Dragon went into the Sarlacc pit because it was the one that Boba Fett killed? Maybe.
I think that the dragon killed the Sarlacc.
Yeah.
And during all of that, when the stand people were there to like do their thing, their worshiping of the dragon, it killed the Sarlacc. During the kerfuffle, that's when Boba Fett made his escape. That's how he got out and how he hooked up.
I thought it was maybe Boba Fett got out and injured the Sarlacc somehow, and then the Krayt Dragon went in for the kill.
I mean, that could be true also, but one way or another, Fett ended up hooking up with the Tusken tribe as a result of escaping.
I like that. Okay, good. Well, let's hopefully they flush that out with the Book of Boba Fett in a flashback. That would be awesome.
Totally. That would be great.
Cool.
But
I like it.
Another reason I really like Chapter 14 the best is seeing Grogu use the Force in such a way to be a physical manifestation of the energy field, like we've seen in some of the other ancillary Star Wars, entertainment mediums. But we haven't seen much physical representation of the Force in recent live action. Force lightning is about as big as we get when it comes to a physical manifestation of the Force, which is cool and all. But seeing a Force field,
about Force Ghost.
Well, Force Ghost, yes, but even that's not as physical as it once was. Or I guess you could say in The Last Jedi, it's more physical.
I was going to say Yoda made it lightning.
Yeah, he did. Well, but again, that's lightning. And so I liked seeing the energy field, and I liked seeing Din try to reach through it and get pushed back, and just, I love the idea that the Seeing Stone is still there, because you use those Seeing Stones every so often in the Star Wars The Old Republic video game as part of quests and missions.
And Grogu was able to channel that Force energy a lot faster due to the tune that Robert Rodriguez just jammed on his guitar. So.
Totally, because it's about Force resonance. And so anyway, for all those reasons. And then lastly, very specific, minute detail with regard to Boba Fett. When I was a kid, my Boba Fett action figure constantly killed rebels with his knees because he had the gun on his knee pad. And I love seeing
the knee darts. Yeah,
he did it. He really put his foot up on the rock, and his knee pad exploded and killed a stormtrooper. And the other stormtroopers were like, "Did he just kill that guy with his knee? That's it. I'm out.
We're out. Yep.
I thought you were going to say, because you got it right, that Fennec Shand was alive.
I was also happy to see Fennec is alive, and she's a cyborg, because what's cooler than a hot assassin babe? A hot cyborg assassin babe. That's what.
Wait. A hot
7 of 9, anyone? Come on.
A hot cyborg assassin babe that hasn't aged in 40 years.
Oh my gosh. I'm starting to think she
Terminator
might really
3?
be a cyborg.
Yeah.
But I believe they're explaining that by the fact that it's Ming Na Wen.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. She doesn't age.
Yeah. Good time. So yeah, chapter 14, definitely my favorite chapter for all the reasons Kevin said and all that stuff, and just Boba Fett doing Boba Fett things. It was amazing. And right down to comedic timing from Tim Morrison when he shoots the one ship with his rocket and it crashes into the other. And Din Djarin is just like, wow. And he's like, I wasn't really trying to do that. I meant to hit the other one. So good. Okay. All right. So we can't be all Pollyanna-ish on this episode, despite my best wishes. So we're going to switch gears now. Kevin, what was your least favorite chapter? Let's see if we.
I'm going to make it short, and I'm going to guess I'm not alone. That's The Passenger. It was more of a bridge episode from one to the other, but it did do an important thing. It made us care for a frog lady and a frog man later on, which was pretty cool. It showed us, I think that's an episode that Baby Yoda learned something as well. And I love the throwback to the Ralph McQuarrie spider. And I thought that was great. That is my least favorite.
I'm going to agree there, and my reasoning for it to be least favorite is similar to yours. I liked the throwback. I liked the part in the beginning where Din has to fight the Raiders in the desert, and he tricks them with his remote control jetpack. That was fun, but the episode lacks very many humans for us to interact with as an audience.
Right. It did give us Blue, which was good. Or him coming back and kind of establishing. That was his first appearance, right?
Captain Carson.
That was Blue's first appearance. Yes.
Yeah, which is good because then when you see him later on, it's good. But and you're right about the human quality.
It had Trapper Wolf in it, so any episode with Trapper Wolf I think is pretty cool. So even though it's my least favorite episode of the season, it's still pretty high up there amongst my favorite Star Wars stories of all time across mediums. Kyle, least favorite episode? Are you on the passenger hate train?
I'm on the passenger hype train. I think for me, it was a couple of things. One, it was the timing of having that kind of episode. To me, that kind of episode should have been kind of a little bit more towards the middle of the season. It's kind of a palate cleanser to get us ready for something. It just felt like after we have this really amazing episode, we just kind of have this downgrade, and then everything from the rest of the season was just high octane. Two, I love the Ralph McQuarrie thing. I love everything with it. It was the shortest episode of the season, and it was the least acting. And come on, it did turn Grogu into a genocidal monster. I mean, come on. And again, I still love the episode, but it's that tells you about the show. The episode you like the least is still a very good episode. So, that tells you the quality of this show.
Yeah, totally. Derrick, what's your least favorite chapter?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it already. It's definitely the passenger, just for the simple fact is you could have really told the story in 2 minutes. Just the fact is you could have had the X-Wings do the damage, and you could have had him already be transporting her from wherever they start, from Tatooine to
Trask.
Trask. So
Yeah.
I just, again, could have been done in a minute or two and been over with.
All right, Nathan, is it going to be unanimous, or you're disliking something else than the passenger?
Well, I have to say I hate the tragedy. Boba Fett's a horrible character. No, I'm joking, of course. No, I'm going to make it unanimous. I'm looking through the list of episodes right now, and in every other episode, something happens that really significantly advances the plot. When we get to chapter 3, the heiress, Mando finds out about Ahsoka in the siege. He finds out that Moff Gideon is still around. He actually meets Ahsoka in the Jedi, learns that he needs to take Grogu to Tython. In the tragedy, he meets up with Boba Fett. In the Believer, they find out where Moff Gideon is. That sets up the rescue. Everything else has some really important story point that I can point to and say, okay, this is the reason why we needed this episode. The passenger is the only one that I can look at and go, if this episode wasn't in the story, it really wouldn't make that much difference for the overall season. Now, I love Dee Bradley Baker, obviously. So I loved Frog Lady. They didn't have to get me to love her. Just she was awesome. So I agree. It's still a good episode, but of the season, it's the weakest chapter.
Totally. All right, so Kyle, sorry, go Derrick. What you got?
Well, I was just going to say, do you think this is the reason why Peyton Reed got to do the last episode, because they all felt bad he had to direct chapter 10?
It was the makeup episode for him.
No,
I don't think so.
No, it was called, okay, Peyton, you get to do this, but that means you have to do this.
Yes.
No, I don't think so, because when and we'll talk about this more on the gallery podcast, I'm sure, but watching the gallery, they really seemed to think that this was going to be like a high stakes episode that everybody was going to love, and it's going to be one of the favorites. So I don't know that they thought beforehand that was going to be the consensus least favorite.
Yeah, and then the as Kevin mentioned with our destination television here, the week between the passenger and the next episode, there was a lot of, I don't know how I feel about Baby Yoda now. How could they do this to him? That kind of thing, because of the eating of the children and all. It was a risky episode, and I don't know that it necessarily paid off for them in the long run.
And going back to the destination television thing, if this season had been dropped as one full season, I don't think there would be much conversation about the passenger. No. People would have watched it, skipped straight on to the heiress, and just forgotten about it immediately.
Yeah. All right. So next question, Kyle, what surprised you the most in this season of The Mandalorian?
If this isn't a unanimous answer, I'm going to slap everybody in the panel, because nobody knew this. It's the end of the rescue. Luke Skywalker showing up. I mean, none of us thought that's what we were going to get. There was all kinds of speculation of Ezra Bridger, this, that, and anything. I haven't seen it. This is one of the best kept secrets in fandom in a very long time. And I don't care what anybody says. I've seen people on, I figured it was going to be Luke at the end. No, you didn't.
Scott was the only one that I know that actually did it.
Guys, defend me while I put some numbing cream on my face so that Cal can slap me real quick. But yes, by all means, guys, back me up. I talked about it more than one episode that it was going to be Master Skywalker to come get him, because there's nobody else around to take him.
But, we talked it back with the Ahsoka conversation. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to say this, though. Nobody expected Mark Hamill.
That is true, and you can listen to every episode of What a Piece of Junk where I talked about it, and I always said, and it'll be played by Sebastian Stan. He's already under contract to Disney, blah, 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 blah. And I was so wrong, but that's okay. I'm really happy that I was wrong about that.
I mean, I think that's the biggest surprise of the season. Everything else, we kind of had rumors and stuff about, but Luke Skywalker, And even those who might have predicted Luke Skywalker, nobody predicted we were gonna see it as Mark Hamill. I think after Last Jedi, everybody thought Mark was done.
Well, no, because he was in The Rise of Skywalker. I didn't think he was done after The Last Jedi.
Well,
after The Rise of Skywalker, I thought he was done. Yeah. And that. Yeah. So for me, the biggest surprise, because we're going to put that little caveat on, Luke didn't surprise me, but de-aged Mark Hamill did. But it wasn't the biggest surprise for me. The one thing that I absolutely did not see coming was, Nathan mentioned it earlier, the return of Mythal. I thought Horatio Sands was a one and done guest star for the first episode just to get some pop culture.
Is that really in the same vein as Luke Skywalker?
Is it in the same vein? No, but it surprised me more than seeing Luke Skywalker in Chapter 16.
Wait.
I'm going to challenge you on that.
Wait. I'm going to say this. In my opinion, there is only one other acceptable answer that is outside of Luke Skywalker. I'm going to wait and see if anybody says it first, and then if
Grogu.
It up.
For me, it was I was never expecting to see the blue guy again, and for him to not only come back, but to be more than just, oh, I'm your receptionist at your office, to actually get out there and get involved in the action. No way would I have expected that to happen. And I was pleasantly surprised. I thought he did a good job. I thought he did.
Power to the accountants, Nathan.
That's right. Actuaries of the world. Anyway, Kevin, biggest surprise? I mean, you can say Luke if you want to, or you could say that, just go ahead and say that was the one, but then right under that.
Okay, so just to backtrack a little bit, we were teased with whatever it was, rumors or social media, with Cobb Vanth being or getting Timothy Olyphant, not being Cobb Vanth, but getting Timothy Olyphant into Mandalorian. Same thing with Ahsoka returning. Okay. Yep. We heard all the rumors about that. Boba Fett also as well. So those to me weren't really big. Kyle, put your finger down. I'm not ready yet. Hold on.
No. You're leaving one out.
What's that?
You're leaving one out.
Let me finish and then I'll let you do your thing. Okay. All right. Hold on. So those were the ones that we were kind of teased about. Now, I'm going to be with Kyle on this because the biggest surprise was Luke coming back and having it be Mark Hamill. But the one other thing that really, really surprised me was when I looked at certain moments in acting history of my favorite moment when someone is just in the moment and I'm in there and they are just killing the scene. And a lot of them get overlooked with the Academy Awards. You get the obvious ones, right? But The Mandalorian, and I'm going to go to you, Derrick, on this. The thing that surprised me outside of Luke was Bill Burr's performance at that table. You just seeing his face and him this is Bill Burr, comedian. I did not expect the character development from him in that scene, in the way that he was going with the look on his face. I've seen him act in other things and he's good. He was great in The King of Staten Island and stuff like that. But when I was looking at that scene, it was reminding me of that scene in True Romance when you see, I'm sorry, what's his name? About to die by the hands of Christopher Walken, Dennis Hopper. And Dennis Hopper, you look at him, and he knows, and he's telling you, I'm going to die here. How do I want to go out? I'm going to insult this guy's heritage. And this is the kind of feeling I got with that Bill Burr moment.
And by you people, I do mean Mandalorians.
Yes, exactly. It blew me away. The look in his face. That was the second thing that surprised me the most, besides Luke Skywalker.
And you had Richard Brake delivering that whole spiel, which is what made it
selling, oh God, right? Yes. And that's why I'm glad you said that was your favorite episode, Derrick, because that probably, next to the reveal of Luke Skywalker, is one of my favorite scenes in all of The Mandalorian.
And then that poor short trooper.
What did I miss, Kyle?
Yeah, we also knew Katie Sackhoff as Bo-Katan.
Yes, yeah.
Speaking of Katie Sackhoff as Bo-Katan and Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka, that we quote unquote knew were happening, we kind of found out about them on Twitter, months and months, or in some cases years ago. Robert Rodriguez directing an episode was sort of the same way. Do you guys remember when the news broke that Rodriguez was going to direct an episode? And then he went on Twitter and he was like, if that is true, no one has told me. And Disney kind of like had to do a double take and be like, yeah, I think we forgot to ask him, but yes, we want you to be directing an episode. And then
he was on the radar. I remember that.
Yeah. And he was just like, I would love to, please call me. And then basically they did. So, lesson learned here, guys, whether you're Rosario Dawson or Robert Rodriguez, just get on Twitter and start saying how much you want to do it. You might have to be very persistent, but you'll get there, right? You'll get there.
Right.
Anyway, Derrick, biggest surprise.
I'm trying to think. I mean, obviously, the Mark Hamill reveal scene. I mean, I guess you could just put that with being Mark Hamill. I would definitely say probably Timothy Olyphant as Cobb Vanth.
Is Mark Hamill number one, or
that was probably the biggest surprise, right?
Okay.
Actually,
so Kyle does not have to slap you. Okay, good.
No. I mean that. It just being Mark Hamill, right? I wasn't surprised about the Luke thing because we've had many discussions on this show about it could be Luke, it could be, we assumed it wasn't going to be Ezra because that was the whole reason Ahsoka's looking for Thrawn and blah blah blah. But I think Timothy Olyphant is Cobb Vanth. But really, I think the biggest thing for me, the reveal was that they ended up going back and having Boba Fett and Fennec Shand actually in this season. I figured they weren't coming back till season 3 because I didn't think they were going to be able to cram as much as they did.
I know, right?
This short 8 episodes, but they did it and it did wonderful. But I would say that's probably my biggest thing there with the whole Boba Fett arc.
Totally. All right, Nathan, biggest surprise?
All right. So as far as Mark Hamill is concerned, I was expecting Ezra, but I knew that there was a possibility that it was Luke. We had talked about that. So I wasn't terribly surprised that it was Luke. Honestly, the CGI kind of hit Uncanny Valley for me. I didn't realize it was Mark Hamill until I saw the credits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I don't really want to call that my biggest surprise. I'm hoping, for the sake of my face, that this is the other moment that Kyle was talking about. The thing that surprised me the most was when a blaster bolt fell from the sky and blew up the Razor Crest.
Yeah, that was a very big surprise, shocking moment. I did not think they were going to destroy the spaceship. Kyle,
that was like Quill dying moment there.
Oh yeah,
maybe worse.
Yeah.
Kyle, was that the thing that you thought might have been number 2? Was the destruction of the Razor Crest?
I have this panel of amazing Star Wars fans.
It was Grogu.
No, it wasn't even Grogu. No, but even though the character was there, we knew things that were going on with her. Nobody was expecting to hear the name Thrawn thrown out in that episode.
That is true. That was pretty surprising. That Ahsoka specifically name-checked the Grand Admiral. So yeah, I think that would then be probably number 3 on my list of surprising.
The Razor Crest does go up there, but the Razor Crest took a beating this season. Let's be honest.
Yes,
really
but that's
did.
all the more reason that I wasn't expecting them to go ahead and finish the job.
I mean, come on.
All season fixing this thing up.
I figure I know what the actual thing was after episode 10, The Passenger. Din took out a huge insurance policy on it. He had Moff Gideon do that on purpose.
Actually,
just give it to the Mon
Insurance
Calamari.
fraud.
They'll fix it right up.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm waiting for is the Hasbro Labs Red Lobster edition of the Razor Crest. And as long as I can get cheesy biscuits with it, I'm good.
Cheddar Bay biscuits, baby. It's an app. All
Well,
right.
Kyle, it sounds like you're coming for my face, but I warn you, I know Terrace Kazi.
Ooh. Hey now.
I will also add, I think in probably my top 5 was seeing Amy Sedaris return. I think that was wonderful. That was a great surprise. We got that right off the bat. And just seeing her return, I thought was great. Kind of like your Hiroshi Osan's point you made, Scott. But having her in there was just wonderful.
Yeah. I thought these people were guest stars from season 1, and that was it. Like the Love Boat, Anyway.
Okay, question, guys. Since we're talking about surprises, one last thing. The stinger at the end of the season. Did we see that coming?
I only saw that coming by virtue of the fact that we had gotten a lot of hints about a Boba Fett show. Though the one thing about it that surprised me was we had the Disney investor call with all these upcoming projects listed, and they didn't list a show of Boba Fett. And I thought, well, that must mean that something's going to happen on The Mandalorian to set it up, and they didn't want to give it away.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting it to be an after credits type scene, though, because we hadn't really had any of those on other chapters.
Yeah. So okay. Everybody was in consensus. Then Hamill's probably the biggest surprise, but I'll let it slide. Everybody had a good second surprise, but
No. My biggest surprise definitely was the ship being blown up, not Mark Hamill. Sorry.
All right. Well, I guess the slap is in the mail. This is like that season arc of How I Met Your Mother with the slap.
The slap bets. Yeah.
Nathan, just
take the 10 now. Just take the 10 now.
Nathan, out of kindness of my heart, I will at least send you the package tracking number so you know when it's coming.
Oh well. Okay. I will have my Terrascasi response shipped overnight.
Good times. Okay, one more question before we wrap up season 2 review here, show. What do you hope to see in season 3 of The Mandalorian? To be precise, not the Book of Boba Fett, because that's a separate project, but Kevin, what are you hoping to see in season 3 of The Mandalorian?
I want to see season 3 really dive into the whole reestablishing a home world or something for Mandalorians. Whether I want to know more about Mandalore itself. If Boba Fett's calling it glass, and earlier Bo-Katan saying don't believe everything you hear or whatever. Mm-hmm. I want to find out that. I think they really need to flush that out. And also tease a little bit, go into now, is there a power struggle now? Because Din, according to, Bo-Katan's side of the Mandalorian lore, he's the rightful heir now that he's won this thing. So depending on, how you go back to Rebels and stuff like that, I really want them to kind of dive in that, but also see what's happening with the New Republic and how that's affecting things as well. It'd be interesting to see if we're going to be teased with any more Imperial struggles as well, but leave the underworld stuff, let Book of Boba Fett kind of touch on that a little bit, but somewhere at the end too, bringing around back to Grogu.
Okay. All right. Kyle, what are you hoping to see in season 3?
Okay. So this is going to be interesting because I think this is the season for the Mandalorian where now we get to test something. And that is, was The Mandalorian a show on its own, or was Grogu such a huge part of pop culture that it pulled in so many more people? Mm-hmm. Now we get that. I don't want to see Grogu until maybe the 9th or whatever let's just say it's an 8-episode thing, 7th or 8th episode. I'm even fine if we don't see Grogu throughout the season or like in a stinger at the end of the final episode. I want to see I want to be able to see them build on Din's character, build more on his character, not just the relationship with Grogu. I want to get some Moff Gideon backstory. I think there's a lot to be told there that we don't know yet. That's really key in the history of Mandalore, because he knows way too much about Mandalorian history for it to be just coincidence. So there's something more going on there.
ISB agent. There you go.
Yep. The other thing that I really want to see out of season 3 is I want to see more of what Kevin said with the Republic and how it's affecting the systems and how it's affecting changing things, because you saw it even a little bit there. The Republic is kind of seen as the good guys, but maybe not. Maybe they're making things more complicated for people than what they are. So, and it's a growing thing because it's a new government basically going into place. So I think there's a lot of things, but I think the biggest thing I want to see for season 3 is I want to see more character development from Din. I think we're free of the Grogu part of it. Let's see if Din can develop Din and keep the people watching. Or is it going to be that you're going to have a big section of people where there's no Grogu here? Why am I watching this show? And I think it's a big test for Dave, and it's a big test for John, and what The Mandalorian is going to be.
Yeah, I agree completely, Kyle. For me, what I want to see, counter a little bit to you guys, I don't want to see Moff Gideon be the bad guy in season 3. I want a new bad guy.
Well, no.
I want a I want a rival Mandalorian who opposes Bo-Katan coming back to power, and possibly also, by extension, opposes Din Djarin himself. Someone like Gar Saxon, right? Who is like wearing a reddish tint Mandalorian armor, and like he has his whole clan, and it's basically a big clan war storyline. That's what I want to see in season 3.
Can I add one more thing, Scott, real quick?
Yeah.
If we're going to deal with the whole Mandalorian situation, I want to see Return of the Armorer from season 1.
Oh, yes. Emily Swallow's armorer. That would be amazing. Yeah. I would love to see what she has to say to Din now that, is she going to know that he had to take his helmet off? Is she going to like look down upon him for that? Will Bo-Katan and her have like a big alpha female fight? Oh, that'd be so awesome.
Well, yes, what is she going to say about him having the black saber?
That's right. Him having the dark saber. What does that mean for her? And what does it mean for her that he completed his quest? He could go back to Emily Swallows and say, I did what you told me to do. I turned him over to the Jedi. And in their particular sect of Mandalorian culture, completing your quest is a big deal. Will that be enough to change his lack of esteem in her eyes now once she finds out that he took off his helmet? Because, is he going to say, yes, I completed my quest, but I had to take off my helmet to do it? Is that going to invalidate the completion of the quest? Or is he still a holy warrior? Is he going to be a paladin of old? Is he going to be Arthur when he is getting Excalibur from the Lady in the Lake?
Preach, Scott, preach. Love it.
Or is he going to be Vlad the Impaler when he returns from the crusade and hates God so much that he turns into a vampire? What's going to happen? And even if it's neither one of those things, I'm still going to be excited to see it. Derek, go. What do you want?
Drop the mic, Scott.
Yeah, good times. Derek, what do you want to see in season 3, brother?
Whether or not we get the fall of Bo-Katan.
Ooh, yes. Is she gonna break bad, baby? Is she gonna break bad?
Is she going to be so hateful and despised of Din that she's going to now be the villain, right?
The way she was standing on the bridge of that light cruiser looking out the window, that was an evil villain stance.
Well, not just that. When Din offered her the Darksaber, she rejected it because that's
he might have been holding up a
But yet she wanted to ridicule him 5 episodes ago about his beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
So there was her chance to do it, and now she has become what she was, talking against.
Yeah, it was like she was looking at that Darksaber like it was a space booger.
All right, my original Wookiee co-pilot, Mr. Miracle, tap into the Dave Filoni network. What do you want to see, or what do you think you might see in season 3 of The Mandalorian?
All right. Well, we've got a lot of titles, at least, things that we know are coming up, like Rangers of the New Republic and the Book of Boba Fett. And that covers a lot of what I want to see as far as a continuation of the story. Moff Gideon, his story, I think, might be continued, maybe not directly, but touched upon in Rangers of the New Republic. So I don't think we necessarily need that in Mandalorian season 3. I agree with the guys that it would be great to see Bo-Katan and Din Djarin, and maybe even a clan war with Bo-Katan and her
maybe Clan Ren.
Her group, Clan Ren versus Death Watch, and then Emily Swallow's character would be part of the Watch, so that would be a great thing to see. We've mentioned it on this podcast before. You don't have to be a villain to be the antagonist.
Yep.
And I think Bo-Katan could start off as the antagonist because she's going to oppose Din Djarin while he's got the Darksaber. But at some point, they're going to come to some sort of agreement, or Din's going to be the man in the middle, the man with one foot in both worlds, saying, okay, I support Bo-Katan and her leadership of Mandalore and the idea of retaking Mandalore. But at the same time, I grew up with the Watch. I understand what they're doing and how they see the world. So he could be the bridge between the two. And then you'd have to reconcile, who do I go with? Which way do I go? Who's right here? Maybe nobody's right here.
You did a great job.
That's what I'd love to see.
You did a great job of tapping into the Filoni network, because you just said in more words than this, I'm not the Ashra. I'm not the Bogun. I'm the one in the middle. Yeah. Good stuff. Oh, good stuff. Okay. All right. Well, before we wrap up, does anybody have anything else they want to add? Kyle.
I want to talk real quick about Mark Hamill, because he posted something on Twitter, I guess it's about 24 hours ago, maybe even 48, talking about how you can be surprised and how 2020 was filled with something he never thought would happen. And just how magical it turned out to be for him, and how it's put him in this place again of identifying with a particular character. And I want to, Kevin, I talked a little bit of this on a Culture Clash with Kevin on our New Year's Eve special. I want to bring it here because this is a thought here, because obviously Star Wars fans, there needs to be proper props given to not only Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, because I think they're the ones who worked a lot of magic, because I think it took a lot to convince Mark Hamill to come back to Star Wars. I think it took a great deal to do that. But in doing that, you also need to give props to Kathleen Kennedy, because she is the one who hired Jon Favreau. She's the one who has empowered Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni to do what they're doing right now. She's finally kind of stepped back and let the creators be the creators and run the ship, while she's just kind of, sitting back handling business things. So I want to give props to not only Kathleen and Lucasfilm for adjusting the way they needed to adjust. Props to Dave and John for doing something I think we thought after the sequel trilogy we would never see, and as Mark Hamill back in the fold in Star Wars. And I've heard so many people bounce back and forth, oh, now we can rewrite the Last Jedi, or we can do this. No, what we've created is maybe what Clone Wars was for the prequel series. We've created a roadmap now to maybe where you can have something that will complement the sequel series in the aspect of, I think where a lot of people had a problem with Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi was his story never felt earned, because we never got the path to get there. We got a 2-minute, 3-minute explanation of that. I think we now have the ability, whether, I know there's rumors of a Luke Skywalker show, those rumors always pop up right after anytime something big like this happens. Maybe Sebastian Stan is still in the mix, or something. There is a possibility now to tell more Luke Skywalker stories, maybe build to that, and at least flesh that out some, to maybe where even those of us who aren't huge fans of The Last Jedi can at least have a piece with it, because Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni can complement it like Dave Filoni did with Clone Wars for the prequels, because I think Dave Filoni with the Clone Wars improved the prequels so much and lifted them up with giving them the Clone Wars as the foundation for the prequels. I think Dave, maybe that's his next goal, is to, I can't make this completely fixed and better, but maybe I can make it so there's an understanding of it. And I think that's very important right now. I get everything that's going on in the mix, but I think we have a gateway here open. And this is one of the reasons too, why I feel like we might be upon another golden age of Star Wars, because you have two creative minds that absolutely love Star Wars, know what they're doing with it. They're being allowed to do the job they're doing, and they're building this base of creators that's going to complement and actually be ready to direct a Star Wars movie or handle a Star Wars show, compared to where we were when the sequel trilogy was made, and even when Solo was made, when we had all the chaos around Solo. I think they've really learned their lessons, and I want to give the proper to Disney and Lucasfilm for adjusting, and I think finally getting the ship uprighted, turned around, and in a positive direction that it hasn't been in the last several years.
Listening to the fans a little too.
Yeah, that's a big part of it, and I think that's again what John and Dave have done. And so, yeah, I think we're in a place here where when all of this is said and done over the next 10 years, we could have a bridge through everything that makes sense and makes everything at least feel somewhat earned, and at least feels like, okay, there's a place for this now. I think there's certain things that we'll never be able to replicate because of real things that have happened in real life, losing Carrie, everything like that. But we can at least maybe get to a place where all the pieces fit together in a proper way.
So George Lucas is famous for pioneering so many things in contemporary Hollywood. A big thing that he pioneered was the en media res, which is Latin for in the middle of the action. He always thought storytelling in the film genre was best when you start right in the middle of the action. You get things going fast and you fill in with exposition later. I don't think he ever intended for his entire saga to be told in that way, but it has become that. The prequel trilogy informed the original trilogy for us. Clone Wars informed the prequel trilogy for us. The original trilogy informed the sequel trilogy for us. And now The Mandalorian and these upcoming projects set between 6 and 7 are informing the rest of the sequel trilogy for us, the viewer. So the big bombastic experience in the film, that is on media res, Latin for in the middle of the action. The rest of it, to quote the famous writer, the past is prologue. But Star Wars teaches us that we don't need to ignore the prologue, and we ignore the prologue at our own peril. And so, therefore, the things that are happening in Star Wars storytelling right now in 2021 are informing the stuff that we've already seen. And that's great. And it's going to work out fine because that's the way Star Wars functions. It's just really hard sometimes when you're right in the middle of the forest to see the importance of each individual tree, because we all know where it's going and we want to know more right now. And so we as fans have a real treat coming up for us. Like Kyle said, I think it's going to be a new golden age of Star Wars storytelling, but it's not that it's being done in any new format or new order. This is the way Star Wars stories have always been told. And people complain about things, and that's their prerogative, and it's perfectly fine, and it's good. Like Kevin said, we got to make our voices heard, because sometimes the creators get in their ivory towers and they lose track, they lose touch. We got to let them know what we want, and they need to be willing to, in some cases, reach down and talk to us, or in the case of Kathleen Kennedy, that Kyle mentioned, know when to get out of the way of the creative types. Kevin has accused me sometimes of having an author bias, a writer bias, especially with regard to how Uncle Mark feels about what it has meant for him to portray Luke Skywalker. I fully cop to the fact that I have a writer bias. It's like me accusing him of having a Raiders fan bias. Of course he has that bias. He's a Raiders fan, and he can't do anything about it. Even when they're terrible, he's still a fan. And
yeah.
So the whole deal is true. It's like flavors of ice cream. Not everybody's going to like the same ice cream, but when it's well made, we do end up respecting it. And, in the end, we're Star Wars fans still, even if they do things that we don't always appreciate at the time, or maybe ever. I don't think I'm ever going to reach a point where I'm a huge fan of Star Wars Resistance. I just didn't think it was that good. But by the same token, in the 1980s, I was never a fan of the Star Wars Droids cartoon. I just didn't think it was that good. It wasn't poorly done. It was very well animated. It just wasn't that interesting of a story for me. And so when we look at the way that fans have reacted to Luke's return again in chapter 16, I said on our review of that episode that I feel like this is just a continuation of his story, not some kind of new story, right? And that's great. But the biggest thing that I take away from that this season is I'm so happy to see so many Star Wars fans, including Kevin and Mark Hamill himself, get excited and happy about Star Wars again. It's great. We don't all have to like the same thing. I just like it when we're all hyped about Star Wars. And we are. And there's so many people on my Twitter feed, the show's Twitter feed, and my own personal friends in life that are almost like they've been given permission to be excited about Star Wars again. And you know what? If that's what it took, then I think Chapter 16 was a seminal moment in Star Wars history, and I'm so happy to have been here to be a part of it.
Just one last thing to add on to that, Scott, because I think, again, it goes back to Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, because they, more than any of the other creators that have taken place of what I call the modern era of Star Wars, from Disney forward, they're the ones who truly understood that, yes, we have to appeal to a new generation of fans, but we still have to pay respect to the fans that built this basis from the ground up. And I think that's where Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau have found the balance in the Force to create something that's going to act as the bridge between the new generation of fans and for those of us who grew up on the original trilogy and Star Wars. And I think they've done a great job of respecting both.
Well said, Kyle.
Yeah. Kevin, any final thoughts?
Yeah, quick little lightning round here. Your favorite acting moment in the Mandalorian thus far, season 1 and 2. I'm going to go first. Bill Burr and the Mayfeld scene there in your favorite episode, Derrick.
I'm going to go ahead and say, because we didn't mention him, Michael Biehn.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Which scene?
Well, obviously him with the Mando saying, could be your side, could be my side. I don't care.
That's a good one. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Scott.
There were very few words in the scene, but the scene where in chapter 16, The Rescue, where Mando takes off the helmet so that Grogu can touch him on the face and say goodbye properly. Nathan beautifully pointed out the poetry there. It's, Star Wars poetry sometimes. The rhyme between "Let me see you with my own eyes" one last time from Return of the Jedi to Mando basically telling Grogu, "I'm going to let you see me, my real self. I'm going to take off this, help me take this mask off." And so he lets Grogu say goodbye to him. Beautiful.
Well said.
And Pedro just does such a great job of mask acting as Sam.
We all cried with him, man.
But yeah, he was just beautiful. Just beautiful.
Nathan,
there's not even a rail here.
With the second
he pointed the obvious out. We've been wondering for years. So yeah,
the second there is a mithril action figure, I'm buying you one, Nathan.
Oh yes, please do.
Kyle.
Giancarlo Esposito in The Rescue with some of just acting with his facial expressions, going from like this cockiness to seeing the look of absolute terror when he realizes who has arrived.
And that smugginess he was doing when he was playing the Mandalorian and Bo-Katan against each other. Yeah.
I mean,
you're going to let me live?
Going from that evil smarminess to just this look of absolute terror, and I probably need a new set of Imperial underwear.
I don't know if you've seen the meme, but I love the meme where it's Moff Gideon, and it says, only one X-Wing is showing up. And then right below that, him with his scared face. Oh, only one X-Wing is showing up.
I got to ask all you guys just real quick, yes or no. Do you believe he knew it was Luke Skywalker? Because my answer is yes.
Yes, totally. Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely.
By the way, great choices. I love the fact that we all had a different one. That was awesome.
Yep. Yeah. Good times. All right. Great. Well, thanks so much for joining us on the Drunken Gungan for this episode, Kyle and Kevin. And thank all of our listeners for joining us on this episode. We do this for you guys. So if you have feedback for us, please send it to us. And how can you send that to us? Well, we gave you the email address and the Twitter handle for the show. But Kyle, where can people find you on social media?
Well, you can find me, of course, anywhere on the Fandom Podcast Network, on the Masterfeed at fpnet.podbean.com. You can find me on Twitter at AKyleW and on Instagram, AKyleFandom.
And Kevin, where can folks find you?
Obviously, you can find me in the Fandom Podcast Network and on Facebook, but you can also reach me on Twitter and Instagram at Spartan_Phoenix.
Nathan, where can the folks find you between shows?
You can find me on Facebook under my real name, Nathan Miracle, or you can find me on Twitter at Gooeychewie, GOOEYCHEWIE. And I've been painting up a Sabine Wren from Legion, so I'll be posting that pretty soon. Keep a watch out for that.
Derrick, where can folks find you on the social media?
You can find me, as you mentioned, running the Facebook What a Piece of Junk podcast Facebook group, as well as then Twitter at HoodieDM83. And Scott, where can the fans find you?
Well, you can find me on Facebook under my real name, Scott Baltman. I am on Twitter at ScotticusMax, and I do write my own sci-fi novels, and you can check out my author website at writegreatscott.com. But until next time, Nathan, punch it!